At Salesforce, there were hundreds of different plan iterations, but you were able to move fast because it came down to different plan component weightings or different pay curves. But at the end of the day, the underlying template is still the same and will be tailored to that specific market or that specific role without having to create the additional overhead of administering and managing those plans.
Yep, 100%. I mean, this goes back to the kind of balance between complexity and scalability. There's a lot of levers in terms of if you organize it better, you can make something that inherently looks complex actually much simpler. It's kind of what you're describing here.
Yeah, exactly. I think you hit that right on the head. Yeah, like how do you drive those desired behaviors, but then be simple enough to administer is a delicate balance.
There's obviously the common notion of like, hey, simplifying is better. Simple is easier for the rep to understand. Simple is easier for the organization to administer. What we've seen is the simplicity is not just in the plan mechanics because it's relatively easy to explain the math behind a plan.
Yes.
The complexity typically when it occurs happens on the crediting side. So you mentioned territories earlier, right? And then you talked about products, but crediting could be a whole bunch of complexities, right? I mean, we've seen it where some organizations have 100,000 plus SKUs.
Yeah.
A seller is not getting credit for all 100,000, right? There's going to be specializations. And so the complexity then becomes on this crediting part of the process, which typically for most large organizations is done outside of the ICM tool. So,
Yeah.
I'm curious, like in again, having seen on both sides, like what your perspective on minimizing complexity there or how to try to avoid it in what seems to be unavoidable.
I think about my time at Salesforce and some of the real time challenges that we have now, kind of building out a best in class comp program. And Notion is, it also goes into like the policies behind this too, right? Like, and I think it's two prongs. One is like, is it able to be streamlined and automated in a way? And is that doing what's best for the business? It's very delicate in terms of like, okay, how then do you provide the enablement piece for reps to understand and have a premeditated treatment for these scenarios where I see a lot of organizations evolve into very complex crediting rules is because they're trying to solve for every single use case.